General Services Public Works Committee meeting. Today is November 13th, and it is noon in the library community room. I'll call this meeting to order, and I would like to welcome Councilmember McEvers, who's filling in for Councilmember English today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Today we have 5 items before us, and the first one being a request approval of the purchase of a new CCTV system for the Coeur Northwest through the HGAC by Cooperative Purchasing Program in the amount of $312,945. Welcome today, Larry Parsons, our Utility Project Manager.
Council members? Yeah, so this is, and Woody's seen our TV system in the past, how it works, how important it is to us. This piece of equipment is scheduled for replacement. The old one is a 2009. We've stretched it out as far as we can go. The company sold out. The new company has made all the current cameras obsolete. So what we're looking for is a new replacement from the Coeur company. And HGAC is similar to Sourcewell as far as a purchasing authority. It's something that we've run past you guys, the full council, and got approval for. So the wastewater department uses this system on a daily basis, and it is the tool for pipe inspections. And it's very important for us for future replacements and repairs and what have you, so. And we've had, when I first started here a long time ago, we had the Coeur equipment and it was very reliable. And so that's why we'd like to circle back and try using them again.
Quick question. So we had it previously, then in 2009,
We purchased a different, yeah.
system, and now we're returning back.
Yep, we're going back to them because RST is no longer available.
Okay.
What we were able to do is upgrade it when they were still available. That's why we were able to keep that one for 15 years. But now they've sold out, and like I said, it's a whole change. Parts availability is almost impossible. I don't even know what we'll do with this old one, so try to sell it to someone. But
Woody?
I have a couple questions. So the new technology, is it like 4K and all that kind of stuff?
yeah, and we're gonna go to their software. So it works with our Esri map, ArcView map systems, and I guess with the cloud, it's able to link up automatically, which will save us with the IT department and the mapping with Nick and GIS, so.
So the quality is
Oh,
upgraded and the
extremely better,
technology.
and they're out of Portland. The local supplier's out of Portland, just outside of Portland, so we'll have reasonably close. RST was in Petaluma, California, so we had to mail things. Now it's gotta go back east if we have a camera problem, so.
And this is all budgeted?
It's all budgeted,
Saw
it was all
coming.
approved in the 23-24
All right.
fiscal year. It's in our equipment replacement, the line item is there. And so we're just hoping that you will approve and we can move on, since you approved already.
Madam Chair? Oh, 2 questions.
Okay.
First for Larry. Larry, just for the audience that actually watches some of these meetings, if you could talk about, the cameras are used in the sewer systems. You could talk a little bit about that. what
Yeah,
they're
right,
actually used
yes,
for.
they are. You put them down a manhole, and then the guys run them from the control room, which I didn't get a picture of back there. They're remote control from the surface with a coax cable behind them. And it's so you can get video of anything you want in the sewer line.
Great.
For blockages, root intrusions, broken pipe is the big one. And that's how we assess for our yearly replacement program.
Excellent. And then Troy, a question for you. I've wondered this many, many times, and maybe it's a state law, but we've already approved this in our budget. So why does it come back to us again when it's just routine maintenance that we've already approved?
A couple points there. First of all, the fact that we've followed the bid laws in acquiring this equipment so that you know that we are purchasing it under Idaho code. And then the second one is to make sure that as council, we're in a good financial situation in the enterprise fund to be able to afford this. Let's say everybody stopped using wastewater and the fees did not support this type of a purchase. We would say, you know, it's in the financial plan, but we need to amend for that because we don't have the cash flow. Or if there was a priority that came up, you would have the opportunity to say, this rig doesn't get purchased this year, we're gonna put it towards this other one that broke that wasn't anticipated. And then the dollar amount. We want council to see these large expenditures to make sure it still works for us as a city. So
Thank
you
you.
get to drive all the way down to the detail of what this is, what the technology is that's changed.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, and they're essentially the same as they've always been, but the technology's just refined, so. And we've changed from the old days of 10 years, you replace it. We try to keep things going a little bit longer. This one, the old one's reached and past its time, so this is a need more than anything else.
Sure. Okay.
Fabulous.
I'm good. Mr. Mayor, Miss Mayor. What do you call Miss
Council member.
Council member, sorry, I'm new
I'd
at this.
call her
I have
Madam
never
Chair.
sat in I've never sat in Dad English's
We have a new mayor?
chair, now I. Anyway, I would like to make a motion to recommend council to approve the purchase of the new CCTV system from Q's Northwest through HGAC by cooperative purchasing program in the amount of $312,945.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we didn't get to hit that part either. We saved $13,000.
That's right.
Good job.
Fabulous, thank you.
Okay.
Moving on, we have item number 2 before us, and this is a request of approval of amendments to the collective bargaining agreement with Local 710. Article 8, staffing related to weekly staffing levels of Medic 34. And with us today is Chief Tom Greif of our fire department. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so you have a staff report before you. Hopefully, it's pretty straightforward. What I'm seeking is approval for some contract language amendment in the CBA between the city and Local 710. So last March, we placed our third ALS ambulance into service out of Station 4 on Atlas Road. Currently, that ambulance is only staffed 4 days a week or 96 hours, and we had specific contract language that said we had to staff it Tuesday through Friday. We have found a more efficient way to staff this ambulance during the week that aligns us better with our shift schedules, our 4896. And so in order to do that, we spoke with Randy, and the language we felt needed to be amended for us to be able to alternate the schedule. So an example would be, if approved, in November, we would start on the 28th and we would staff it Tuesday through Friday. The following week, it would be Monday through Thursday, Tuesday through Friday, and then it will align better with our 3 shifts that we have on our 4896. There is no financial impact to this change. Both Local 710 and the administration, the fire department, agree on this change. And I would stand for any questions that you have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Chief, I certainly, anything you bring forward, I have complete confidence in you, but that was going to be, I guess, something I would dive deeper into is the locals not here with you. And any kind of amendment to a contract is usually kind of a big deal. But apparently they've agreed with you that this needs to happen.
Yeah, this actually was brought, it was brought forward by them. I agreed to present it to you guys, and so, yeah. I
Great.
guess it's gonna be more convenient for them also.
Great. Thank you.
Just a couple, Chief, does this impact the original contract on coverage?
No, so our contract with Kootenai County EMS just specifies 40 hours a week
Okay.
is what we're contracted for, and then the city subsidizes the other 56 hours, which brings us to the 96 or 4 days. So we have flexibility in moving it within the work week.
Because the 40 hours wasn't specific to weekends or anything like that.
No, it was more specified during the week. Mondays and Fridays tend to be the busier days for those transports out of the care facilities.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to recommend that council approve amendments to the collective bargaining agreement with Local 710, Article 8, staffing relating to weekly staffing levels of Medic 34.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3, we have our Municipal Services Director, Renata McLeod, here to present a request approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Downtown Association and Hagedorn Corporation for the 2023 Lightning Parade and Fireworks Show.
And actually, we should amend that a little bit. The Hagedorn Corporation isn't a signature on the agreement.
Okay.
But just want to make it clear, the event includes a complimentary fireworks show from the Hagedorn Corp. So, just to clarify that. So the event is going to be held November 24th, and the next council meeting is November 21st. So we thought we better come to the subcommittee and run this through and see if there's anything that is lacking or anything we need to get more information on, because we really have such a limited time between the next council meeting and the actual event. So as you know, council requested in July 2022 that we start looking at some of these larger events. And although it's a winter event, it is actually one of the larger events due to the firework part of the parade, and afterward they light up the downtown with all the tree lights. So it is one of the larger events. We have met with staff, including public safety, streets and engineering, and the Downtown Association, and a representative with the Hagedorn Corp., and we've worked through the specifics on this event. So the Downtown Association has agreed to hire Traffic Corp to do all of the traffic control for the breakup. So what I sent you today was 2 different traffic control plans, and I don't know if you guys really want to get in the details of those, but Todd's here, we'll go over that a little bit topical. But he prepared the traffic control plan for the parade, and then Traffic Corp worked with him in the Downtown Association for the breakup, which is the larger amount of getting traffic and people out of the downtown safely. So the Downtown Association is picking up the cost for that. So the memorandum of understanding includes a $750 fee that's based on our normal special event fee schedule, and a $1,000 security deposit. The Downtown Association has additional cost. Some of their expenses for this event is $10,420, with an estimated value of volunteer hours for 1,667, for a total of $12,087. They just finalized their agreement with Traffic Corp, so I'm not really sure of the exact dollar amount, but it's over $4,000. And as I said before, the Coeur d'Alene Resort is going to provide complimentary fireworks, but they've also provided a couple staff members at the intersection of First and Sherman that they help with traffic control there, but also to get their people in and out safely if they have any traffic coming to and from the resort. So we looked at last year's expenses for the city for this event, and again, because our timesheets don't have a code for every hour on this particular event, the 4 major departments are fire, police, streets, and parks, and we looked at the overtime for that date last year, and that equaled $11,245. So, and Todd, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit on the differences between the 2 routes, but this first one that we have on the screen is the one that talks about the staging area for the parade route, getting people in and out, and the one that's probably a little more specific to people in and out is that breakup session. Lead it to you, Todd.
So the first one, let's see.
Oh, there's a different slide for the parade one if you want to go, if you wanted to show that one.
Yeah. Right there. So this one is something that our department's really accustomed to setting up for most of the events that happen down on Sherman Avenue throughout the summer, St. Patrick's Day, Car Lane, 4th of July parade, any parade that happens down there, they're all very similar to this one, depending on the size of the event. It stretches out or it shrinks, but it's a normal footprint for us. This is something that our staff will put together. We will set all the barricades we'll be involved with, and then once the parade is finished, it'll have to stay up through the fireworks. And then just for safety, so we don't have traffic driving to the west down to where the crowd is all moved to for the fireworks. So this is pretty easy for us. We do this many times in a year. We've worked with Emily several times on several of her events with that kind of support. This is a little bigger. This traffic corp, we need a contractor to do this. We have shrunk the amount of people like we did with the 4th of July. This year, we're hoping to keep the contractor under 15 flaggers. The Downtown Association will use approximately 5 of their own volunteers to help with fire trucks getting across the route, things like that. The 15 flaggers that we have will primarily, through Traffic Court, be used to escort folks out of town. So when the event is over, to get them, out of Fort Grounds, out of Sherman, and start moving them to the north or to the east. So there is no safe way to move the cars. We've looked at options. Well, they found their way there. Let's let them find their way out. But there's not really a safe way to get them back out. So it does require these flaggers. We are working with Downtown Association. We are working with Traffic Corp. They used to do this about 10 years ago. This will be their first year back. They're excited to do this. So trying to come up with some new ideas, but this is kind of what we have right now. So we need their help for that because we just don't have the staff to be at all those intersections.
I have a question on that. So with the addition of Traffic Corp coming in that will help reduce the overtime of our city teams?
Yes, it will. I mean, in order for me to do it, I would have to bring our whole crew in that's doing other things. And this time of year, one of the big problems is if we were to have a snow event on that day or an ice event, I can't have them tied up doing flagging. We can't have a contractor waiting on standby. We'd have to pay them to be waiting to be called. So yeah, this would reduce our staff's time.
Thank you.
Sheldon, are we doing more?
Yep. Any questions?
And I
Oh.
did want to mention that Emily from the Downtown Association is here if you have any specific questions for her.
Great. Hi, Emily.
So we stand for further questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Todd answered the question about streets overtime, but will the Traffic Corp lower the police department's overtime?
Well, I think that when you look at public safety, they have to be down there during that parade and breakup time for the safety aspect. So I'm not really sure how we can pare down those costs.
But they won't, I guess I'm trying to understand, will they be manning the intersections?
Oh, no, they haven't done that for a few years.
So they'll be down there just to focus
Yeah.
on public
Yeah.
safety?
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's the same that they were last year, so I think those costs will be about the same.
okay. And I can appreciate how much the Downtown Association is spending on this event. It's an event that's very popular. It draws a tremendous amount of people and everyone looks forward to it. But I guess my request would be, next year, it could get to council by the first meeting in September. And that way we have quite a bit of time if there's any other adjustments. It's a little bit rushed. And I would expect in our conversations as we move forward on our fee changes, that's going to change a little bit as well. So they need time to understand what they're up against as well. So those would be my requests.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I'd like to move to recommend council approve the MOU with the Downtown Association for 2023 lighting parade and fireworks show.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Renata. Let's see, we are on to item number 4, request approval of a professional services agreement with HMH Engineering in the amount of $47,769.56 for services related to the DEQ grant application for the Ponderosa Drainage Project. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, council members. I bring before you today a contract and a grant application. So back in January, we had submitted a letter of interest to Idaho Department of Environmental Quality to solve one of our cross connections that we have with sanitary sewer. So we have, this one is out here by Ponderosa Golf Course. You can see one of the sand traps here off to the side off of Hill Drive. And you can see there are 2 catch basins that are connected into the sewer system. This is the last connection that we believe we have out there. We've solved 2 in the recent past, removing those so that our stormwater isn't heading to wastewater to be treated. So with this, we have to have a contract in place to submit this grant application. So we won't actually ask them to do any work unless we get the grant, but we have to have all the pieces in place. So at the end of this month, we would like to submit this grant application for up to $50,000. We're at just over or just under $48,000 with this. Our match would be 10% of that. And HMH engineers, who we've decided would be the engineers to work on this project, would devise a way to treat that stormwater. And you can see this green line here also is the city limits. So they're very close to running out of room right there, and it's a low spot in the roadway. So it's going to take some creativity and some modeling perhaps to make sure that whatever we do doesn't flood any nearby homes, because it won't have that emergency outlet into the sewer system anymore. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Woody?
So this is a plan. There's nothing physically going to happen. Even if you get the grant, it's still just the plan. Is that correct?
Correct. If we get the grant, then we would let them or ask them to fulfill their contract and design a plan for construction in the future. I don't know if there will be construction money coming out, but we'll look for that. But at least we'll have a plan, and maybe it can be done in-house if it's not too onerous.
So this area is kind of the last of the country folks, right? No curbs, no sidewalks,
Correct.
no grassy swales out there.
Right.
So all the stormwater in that area goes through that and down to the storm
Well,
sewer
you can
treatment
see
plant.
down here at Hastings Avenue, we have a couple catch basins down here, and those ones actually go into our storm system. But down here at the bottom of the hill in the low spot, that just goes straight into the sewer down there.
To get creative, huh?
Yeah.
You said the last connection. Is this the last stormwater connection in the whole city or just in this area?
We believe it is the last in the city. We've solved 2 of them over the last 2 or 3 years, removing them and reconnecting them to our system or some sort of filter system.
I'm good, thank you.
Looking for a motion?
I'm looking at you,
I
Woody.
love this stormwater
I know
stuff,
you
you
do.
guys. I love this stuff. I would like to make a motion, Madam Chair, to recommend the council approve professional services agreement with DMH Engineering in the amount of $47,769.56 for services related to DEQ grant application for Ponderosa Drainage Project.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. And we are on our final item for today, and this is a request for the acceptance of a bid and award a contract to the Specialty Pump Services Incorporated for Linden Well Pump Rehabilitation Project. Boy, we sure have long titles. For a sum not to exceed the budget amount of $192,240. And welcome, Superintendent Kyle.
Thank you for having me, Council. And like you said, I'm here this afternoon to get approval for special pump services for Linden Well Rehab. So each year we go through our facilities and we update and maintain everything that we need to go over. So with this year's maintenance project, we have determined that Linden Well is due for a update and replacement of any parts that are needed for that project. We go through and we monitor all the hours, any maintenance issues that we have with all our wells, and we go through and determine the best well to replace or maintain for this year. This year, Linden Well has come up on the list for the most hours and the most issues that we've had. We try to do the maintenance through the winter so we can have it up and running and ready to go by April, because we never know when that hot weather's going to hit. So we try to shut things down the winter, do our maintenance through the winter, and get them up and running. So during a well rehab, we end up pulling the well. We'll end up replacing columns, pipes, shafts, pumps, motors, anything that needs to be replaced. When you go do a pump rehab, you don't always know what you're gonna need to be replacing until you actually pull it out of the ground. That's the hard part. We do monitoring on the well. Like I said, we monitor hours. We'll listen to bearings, odd noises. We'll measure frequencies in the motors and vibrations. And we catalog all that information. When we pull this well, they'll pull the shafts. They'll measure the shafts, they'll make sure they're straight, they'll check all the bearings, the pumps, the motors, everything from the bottom to the top, including the screens. So the base price of the project is $77,825. That's what we're planning to spend. But like I said, when you pull a well out, you don't know if you're going to need to replace all the columns and everything else. So a few years ago, we did the Atlas Well Rehabilitation Project in the same aspect. We ended up pulling that well, and the tire casing was bad. We had to replace everything. We actually had to come back to council for additional funding to replace that. That was above and beyond our planned replacement project. But with our wells, we can't live without them during the summer because everything's up and running at 100% capacity. So during the project, you've got the motor on the top. You've got a shaft from the motor all the way to the bottom. You have casings. There's spider bearings inside here that I have on another picture, and the screen and the pump in the bottom. This is some pictures of another well site where we pulled. This is another picture of the shafts that go up and down the bottom. This is the casing and a new shaft in there that they put in at a different facility. Hopefully, we don't have to replace any of those parts, but we make sure we have the funding to do that in case we run across that, because it's such a long lead time to order those parts. If we need to, we want to get them ordered as soon as possible. These are some of the spider bearings in the wells. Those are what the shaft goes through, and they go through every so many feet in the column to keep that aligned for the pump. This is a pump going back in. This is the pump and the screen on the bottom and lowering it into a well. And this is the top part of the pump and the shaft that it connects to with the motor that would sit on top. And with that, I'd stand for any questions.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kyle, this maintenance, this pump rehab, this is all planned in advance in the budget, correct?
Yes.
All pre-approved in the budget,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, we have a total of $192,240. We tried to break it down. If worst case scenario, that's what we need to do to replace all those parts and materials. Our plan is to only spend the $77,825, pull it apart, make sure everything's working, replace the smaller bearings, get it back together, up and running, and back in the ground so it's good for next year. But like I said, worst case scenario, we plan to replace everything if needs be.
Thank you.
I had to come up with some trick questions, Kyle.
I'll
just
do my
to
best.
test you. Do you know how old this well is?
Yes, it was put in 1966.
Right.
There's a picture that I found in our archives, I pulled out of the paper, when they originally installed it.
That's pretty cool. Do you know how many times it's been rebuilt?
I don't have the data on every time it's been rebuilt,
You're
but it's at least a
collecting-
couple in the last 20 years. We try to go every 10 years. This well is a primary well on our lower zone, so it runs a lot more hours than some of our others.
Madam Chair wasn't even alive then.
Yeah.
I bet Kyle was not either.
Right,
Thanks for pointing that out.
right.
Keeping score, keeping score. So the rehab is pretty much a common thing, a cycle, a 10-year cycle, or is it depends on the well?
It depends on the well. So we try to do it about every 10 years, but we also monitor the hours. Some of our bigger wells in the wintertime, they don't run 24/7. So in the summertime, we're running anywhere from 4 to 6 wells in the wintertime because we're pumping anywhere from 5 to 8 million gallons. In the summertime, everything's running 24/7, and we're pumping right at 40 million gallons plus minus. So some of them don't run as many hours as others. This well runs a little bit more because of where it's at and where it's located.
Gotcha. Those pictures, were those the landings?
No.
Landings
not
well,
all
the
of them.
one that had
So
all the
this is
parts
just a
and pieces?
typical well that's been put in the ground. It should sand. This is locust well that's here. It's just a good demographic to show you what it looks like on paper. This was landings when it dynoed several years ago. We had a well that literally exploded. There never was a determination what exactly happened, but something locked up and it blew up inside the well house. They had to fish all the casings. It took those shafts, or some of those shafts are 2 1/16 stainless, hardened steel, and just turned them into a straw. It was unreal what the damage it did inside that well house.
Pretty amazing.
And that's why we maintain those, hopefully that'll never happen again, but sometimes things happen.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I'd make a motion to recommend council accept the bid and award a contract to Specialty Pump Services Incorporated for the Lindenwell Pump Rehabilitation Project for a sum not to exceed the budget amount of $192,240.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Move
you.
to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.